And here's the thing about energy and electromagnetic vibration. You know, that heart just doesn't send it to your brain. It sends it out in beyond your body as well. And this is exactly why we have the ability, each of us, and each of us connected to the next, to change the world. With the practice of gratefulness, when we become responsible for how our heart is vibrating from that level of gratefulness, let's say, we have the ability to change the world. Well, every year at Thanksgiving, you know, we make a big deal of this gratitude thing, don't we? And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We gather with our families. We eat a nice meal. We share with each other what we're grateful for and why we're grateful. And I think it's a good thing. But here's the thing, too, I think. Once a year is not enough. Once a year is not enough. And some of us, maybe most of us, maybe all of us, I think we get too smug about it. I think we get too smug about this time of year. This kind of pat ourselves on the back kind of year. This kind of check the box off kind of thing, like, okay, grateful, check. You know, spend some time with the family, check. Volunteered at the soup kitchen, check. You know, wrote a check to the food bank, check. All right, gratefulness 2019, check, check, check. You know, and then what happens? I mean, are you feeling grateful in April? No. February? Maybe Christmas rolls around and you forgot about it already. Yeah, I think sometimes that's what happens, and because gratitude is really something you cultivate. Gratitude is really something you cultivate. It kind of falls in the category, I think, of other spiritual work. You know, spiritual work takes cultivation, and I think gratitude is spiritual work because I think true gratitude and real gratitude brings us closer to God. It brings us closer to understanding more about each other and how life works. And so I think those are kind of spiritual things. Yeah? So it takes cultivation, and the more you practice, the more you engage in it, the more you open yourself up to knowing yourself better, maybe knowing God better, whatever your name for God is, for knowing how life works better. But I was also reading, there's some other things about gratitude that I want to share with you today. I was reading an article out of the collectiveevolution.com, an article by Arjun Walia. And here's some interesting things about the practice of gratitude. And that is that the practice of gratitude actually changes the molecular structure of your brain. It actually changes the molecular structure of your brain. And they've studied this scientifically. And people who practice this, who make gratitude a part of who and how they are more peaceful. They're less restrictive. They're less reactive. And they feel less restriction in their life. I mean, that's what happens. The brain actually changes. And actually, when you're in that process of gratitude, your brain actually starts looking for things to be grateful for. Maybe some of you have experienced this, right? You actually look for things. You don't miss things. You're the one bopping down the street smiling at strangers, right? You're the one that holds the door open. You're the one that notices that the cashier is not having a particularly good day, right? Because you have this brain change that recognizes that, and you're looking for gratefulness. You're looking for ways to be grateful in all situations and with all people. We become more sensitive to that. But here's the other thing scientifically proven is, there is a change in your heart also. Your heart actually beats differently, has a different electromagnetic pulse to it, sending information to the brain. That way, maybe that's why the brain changes also. It's different. It's different when you're a grateful person, when you practice gratitude. And here's the thing about energy and electromagnetic vibration. You know, that heart just doesn't send it to your brain. It sends it out in beyond your body as well. And this is exactly why we have the ability, each of us, and each of us connected to the next, to change the world. with the practice of gratefulness. When we become responsible for how our heart is vibrating from that level of gratefulness, let's say, we have the ability to change the world. Because it doesn't stop at the edge of our skin. It doesn't stop at the edge of our skin. That's why I believe wholeheartedly when we say at the beginning of this service that we are here to create a movement grounded in love and kindness that transforms us, our community, and the world. I believe that's possible because the vibration of the heart does not stop at the skin. It doesn't stop there. And so when we take responsibility for that vibration, we should recognize that that is the potential we each have, especially connected to the next one. Isn't that pretty amazing? It's not just hoo-hoo stuff anymore. It's scientifically shown that that's what's possible. That's what happens in the brain. So here's a simple truth about gratitude. And that is that you cannot feel gratitude, you cannot feel that sense of gratitude and vibration in your heart and feel anger at the same time. You cannot feel self-righteousness or judgment. You cannot feel separate from other people and the world. It's impossible to do. That's the strength and the power of gratitude and being grateful and appreciation. Is it takes over your whole being. It takes over your heart and mind, just like I said. There is no room for any other emotion at all when you are in gratefulness. Think about that. Think about that. So often in, from the pulpit or in a spiritual sense, we say, well, we got to work on that. We got to work on unforgiveness. We got to work on that. We got to forgive. We got to work on not being angry. We got to find a way not to be angry. You know what? All we have to do is find a way to be grateful. And all the other stuff melts away. Okay? It's really very simple. It's really very simple. And it's powerful. And it's powerful. So, as you might imagine, as I've been going through this recovery from my knee surgery, I've had some opportunities to practice gratitude. And one of the people who has been so helpful to me during my time is my friend Olivia Shaw. And she has taken me to, for the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I can't remember how long now, to every physical therapy session that I had to go to. Waiting for me to get in the car. In fact, the first couple times lifting my leg into the car. But she just didn't drop me off there. She came in with her phone. She's sending updates to Renee. She's taking pictures, which I told her she could not post on Facebook, so she didn't. She's talking to my physical therapist, making sure she's doing it right, not hurting me too badly, right? And when I would be in my discouraged state, she didn't try to change it. She was willing to sit with it. She was willing to just sit with me when I didn't feel the greatest. She wasn't trying to change me or ask me to pretend to be different than I was. And I hope that she heard every time we came back into the driveway and she had to come over and get my walker out and lift my leg out of the car. I hope she heard it when I said thank you for being here for me. Thank you for taking me. Because all of these things were wound up into that gratefulness. You see, when at that time for me, I was very vulnerable. I felt very vulnerable. To not be able to take myself anywhere, to not be able to rely on my own, to rely on someone else to take me. I think that kind of expression towards someone else really is an expression of tenderness. It's really saying, thank you, because I couldn't do it myself. This is not something I can do myself. And even though I want to in my fierce independence, instead of getting mad and complaining about it, I leaned into that help. I leaned into that caring. I leaned into that. And she accepted me the way I was. Olivia's personality is different than mine. I think if it were switched, she'd be talking up a storm and she'd be doing this and doing that. Me, I was very often on the way back home, very quiet and internalized. And so I'm so grateful, Olivia, for the care that you gave me during those weeks. You see, gratitude is a practice, but it happens in the moment. You know, gratitude doesn't happen later on. Yeah, we might write a card later on, but true gratefulness is a sense. It's a sense in the heart. It's an experience. It happens in the moment. It's a practice, but it happens in the moment. And to develop a sense of gratitude, I think we have to be willing to set aside some other things, because here's the thing. This change in the mind, in the brain, and in the heart, it just doesn't happen for gratefulness. It doesn't happen just for gratitude. I think it's very apparent if you are leading a grateful-filled life, a gratitude-filled life, it's very apparent in how you treat other people. All we have to do is don't have to ask somebody, what are you grateful for? All we have to do is observe how you treat other people. Especially people who might have done you wrong. Especially someone who might have taken advantage of you. Especially for somebody who might have messed something up for you. And I think if you observe how someone treats that person, that you will know on the scale of gratefulness how they are grateful for their life or not. That's what I think. Here's a story I want to share with you about that was very poignant in this respect. And my friend Jim Kimbrough, who is our treasurer on the board for Spiritual Soul Center, sent me this story, and it's a story about a golfer named Brian Matthews. And golf is not something he follows. It certainly is not something I follow. But this story, my friends, isn't about golf. So even if you're not interested in golf, listen up to this. It was on Sports Center. This guy, Steve Coughlin, was a sportscaster. And here's this guy, Brian Matthews. He's this young golfer. He's been trying to live his dream. He wants to break into the PGA, right? He wants to play golf with the big guys. That's his dream. That's what he wants to do, and he's been working hard at it. And he's been vying for these 156 spots that are available for the U.S. Open. That would be his first tournament ever. And so he traveled to this qualifier in Buenos Aires, and he's playing in this qualifier. And he ends up tying for the lead at the end of the number of holes, right? He ends up tying for the lead. So they're in this playoff. He and another person, maybe two, and they're in this playoff. They come to the third hole of the playoff, okay? So they were tied, and so they're now trying to break the tie. And his partner, one of the guys that he is in the playoff with, sinks a 30-foot putt. A 30-foot putt! He has to sink an 8-foot putt in order to stay in the tournament, right? So he lines it up. Here it is. His whole life he's been wanting to do this, right? Can you imagine the pressure he must have put on himself at that moment? So he lines up this 8-foot putt, and he lines it up. He hits the putt, and as soon as the putter hits the ball, someone in the gallery gasps and makes a noise. And he knew as soon as he hit it that it wasn't going in. And of course it didn't. That putt did not go in the hole. And he was frustrated. He was disappointed. He was discouraged, this young man. And he couldn't even look around. Goes to the locker room. Don't you know, the tournament director comes in the locker room and says to him, you know, I just want to let you know that the person who let out that gasp actually was a man with Down syndrome. And he got so excited about that moment that he lost control of his emotions. And he gasped outside. You know the first thing that Brian Matthews says? Take me to him now. Take me to him now. So Brian goes to him, and the sportscaster was able to have the quotes, the actual quotes that Brian was talking to this man. And he said, I don't want you to be upset. He said, I'm not mad at you. I don't want anybody else to be mad at you. I don't want you to be mad at yourself. I want you to know that it's okay. That it's okay. You know, and you're thinking, yeah, this guy's been trying to get in this tournament. And who knows? Who knows if he would have won the playoff? There's no way to know if he would have won the playoff. But how many people would have reacted this way? How many people would have gone to this person and told them, relieved them of this burden that they might have been carrying, and told everybody else around him to relieve their burden, to not be mad? What he was recognized for was something way more meaningful than qualifying for the U.S. Open. In fact, the sportscaster himself said this: pure and uncommon class and humanity. Pure and uncommon class and humanity. I'm saying that Ryan Matthews' brain and heart have been vibrating at a gratitude level that allowed him to treat this person the way he did. That's what I think. We don't need to know if that man is grateful. That young man is grateful. I know he is, by the way he treats others. The sportscaster reminded us of this quote: adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it. It reveals it. Sometimes I wonder what part of my character is being revealed in my own adversity with the recovery from my knee. Maybe we should all look in the mirror and say, what is the adversity that I am encountering at this time? What does it reveal about my character? What does it reveal about my level of gratitude and gratefulness for my life? I think that, my friends, is a good look in the mirror question for all of us. This man, sportscaster, ended like this. He said he might not be a champion golfer, but he championed humanity. Now that's a moniker that I could wear proudly if I was able to act that way. How about you? Yeah. So we don't get to that place of gratitude. We don't get to that place of treating others that way without some attention to gratitude in our lives. No matter what we're dealing with, no matter how difficult it is, that when we practice it, we shift our brain and we shift our heart, and we practice it some more and we shift our brain and we shift our heart, and we practice it some more and we shift our brain and shift our heart until we don't have any other choice in how to treat anybody, until we live gratefulness all the time, whether it's November or April or July. To start is pretty simple. It's like, how do I get there? How do we get there? And here's the thing. I don't care how far along we think we are. There's always more further along that we could be. I'm just going to project that on all of us. No matter how far along we think we are, that there's further along that we can be. Do you believe that? Mm-hmm. So there's a little practice that's very simple, and that is simply writing things down. Like, write down every day. And Olivia's going to bring, I have a gift for you today, a little book for you to get started, to write down the things you're grateful for. To write down and remind yourself of how you do treat people. Are you proud of that? Is it the best you could do? Would others know you as a champion of humanity or a champion of something else? Maybe something short of that. So as we go into meditation today, I'll invite you to start your list, to jot down a few things. There's a few blank pages in there. It might last you to the end of the year. To write a story, to write a word, to write a feeling, to write a word, a story, or a feeling that brings you a sense of peace, that brings you a sense of connection with others, that lets you be less resistive, that softens your heart. That's all. The music team has theirs. Thanks. To soften your heart. To let this story of Brian Matthews illuminate in each of us need to lift up. To be grateful. To be that. So breathing in and breathing out. As we spend this time in meditation. Blessed is each breath, for through this we intertwine with the miracle of God. Blessed are we, for our hearts can feel an array of emotions and the magic of love. Blessed are we, for we can think and find resolution in times of distress. Blessed are we, for each part of our bodies, be it broken or not, is a part of God, and thus a divine gift. Blessed are we, for we have food to fuel us and shelter to shield us from harm. Blessed are we, for we have faith, which nourishes our soul. Blessed is each day, for we can rejoice in the wonders of our world. Blessed are we, for we have loved. Blessed are we. In gratitude we sing. Amen.